morning. So today I'm doing something very different, which is because I need to. Recently I suffered from a pretty major creative burnout, between filmmaking, shooting these videos for YouTube, photography, my own creative projects, and everything that sort of life throws in your way. I sort of reached the end of my rope. And to be truthful, I'm not really out of it yet, and it may not be for a while. But it doesn't mean that we can't do creative things while we feel this way. And instead of sort of setting up a shoot with a model and a whole crew and all this sort of stuff, I wanted to do something a little bit simpler. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get out of the city today. And my goal is just to find some interesting things to shoot, all the while talking about what we can do when we feel like we can't do it anymore. So without further ado, let's hit the road. Decide to head north of the city because, to be frank, I find Toronto horrifically uninspiring. We fare a bit better once we leave the city. And what I'm hoping to find are these hidden little jewels that make up the mosaic of rural Southern Ontario, but things that we typically don't take time to study or acknowledge their existence. Plus, I'm doing the type of photography that I rarely do, this sort of reportage, travel landscape kind of thing. What I love about that is that I have no expectations on my results. These photos aren't for anyone except for myself. And I'm doing this alone because I'm making the day about me and my experience. And all of that is incredibly liberating. All right, here we are at our first location. It is a road to nowhere, full of test strips. I found this on Google Earth. I thought it was kind of neat, kind of odd, and Southern Ontario is, if nothing, a collection of oddities. So it might make an interesting composition. We'll check that out in a second, but I want to walk you through the cameras that I chose to bring with me today. Again, today's all about inspiration, so I also, and beyond just shooting photography that I don't normally shoot, I wanted to shoot cameras that I don't always get a chance to shoot. So I rented the GFX 50S from our rental department at Vistek. And as you guys know, I love the GFX, I love Fujifilm. And I thought medium format would be a great sort of format for today. And it just inspires me because I always love the images that come out of this camera. I also brought some fun film stuff. So I got my 6x6 Yashica medium format. So love this camera, shoot with it a lot. And then finally, instant film. Brought my Fujifilm Instax, just because sometimes instant film is the way to go. So let's get started and see what I can figure out here. You have to move the car.
What's wrong? 'Cause I've seen down ending the night. No point.
I can decide if I want vertical or horizontal. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. All right. Let's move on, shall we? Our next location is just up the road, but I decided to stop here because I noticed this abandoned silo. There's nothing else around it. There's actually one other little structure there, but basically it's just the silo and a bunch of green. So I thought that's kind of cool. I'm gonna go and adventure a little bit and see what I can shoot there. So I'm walking in here just to kind of see what I can discover. And that's kind of like my favorite part of sort of traveling or this type of photography, is that you get a chance to sort of explore your own backyard, which you sometimes need an excuse to do it. So this is kind of a fun thing to do. So there's a pretty cool looking tree right here. Just kind of the shape of it sort of leans into the landscape here. So I think I'm gonna take a couple of shots of this guy and see See what I can make of this. All right, let's keep moving. So there's also this busted down trailer, which might make for a couple cool shots. Yeah, so I'm thinking like that back corner there, it says white trash. Somewhat apropos, I suppose. I mean, as much as I love that shot, if I go this way, I see too much stuff back there. If I go too far that way, I see all this stuff. You're in the best vantage point, as far as I can tell. Maybe I'll just come here and shoot. All right, let's take some film shots. So this is the next stop on our little whistle stop tour here. Another bit of an oddity here in Ontario for not just the design of this, but it's a 200-year-old building. It was built 200 years ago by the Quakers. And well, we don't have a lot of 200-year-old buildings here in Ontario. So it's unique on that level, of course. And the light is interesting today. It's a mix of hard and soft. So I want to see sort of what kind of light gradations I can get. So we're gonna go and have some fun and see what we can do. Let's go. Well, there's one thing I'm waiting for, which is the sun. Even though we've got sort of like hazy skies from the forest fires, there is some cloud, and occasionally the sun kind of peeks out and creates some really nice patterns and shapes on the wall of the temple. But man, it happens fast. You gotta be watching it like a hawk. This is definitely a place that looks better when you have more dynamic light. Coming in the middle of the day on a hazy day, overcast. Not that I can control the weather. This seems like a good moment to take a break. You know, one of the biggest challenges that I and my creative friends experience is this idea that you're only as good as the last thing that you've done. And this puts an enormous amount of pressure on us to always be creating, whether it's paid work or creative work. We're always doing something because we want to move that needle forward. The problem with this is that it's not really sustainable. I'm not a big self-help guy, but a director once recommended the book to me, Big Magic by Melissa Gilbert. And in the book, she talks about an anecdote in which one of her creative friends completely burnt out. And what they did is they quit their job, they stepped away, and all they did for like 6 or 7 months was just build and paint bikes for local kids in the neighborhood. And that allowed this person to be creative in a unique way that had none of the demands or pressures that their actual creative career had. It's important to take a break, but it's also very valuable to maintain your sense of purpose. And it could look like this, you know, doing something creative that you don't normally do. So I can, you know, shoot here without any of the pressure that I have to produce something. And even when, you know, creative acts become too exhausting, well, then I'll just get on my bike or go rock climbing. So I think what we need to do is detach ourselves time to time from this idea that we always need to be plodding forward. Because the energy that we put into constantly moving forward can also put a lot of energy into digging us into a rut. And I don't really have a lot of desire to be stuck in a rut. Onward and upward. One of the things that I really love about doing this kind of thing on my own is that if I see something interesting off the side of the road, I can just quickly pull over, grab the shot, and get back on my way. I find this a lot more difficult to do when traveling with other people. All right, so our next little location is sort of a tip of the hat to Edward Bertinsky. There's a lot of aggregate, a lot of quarries in southern Ontario. It's big business here, a lot of limestone they mine. There's one basically right here. I'm gonna try to get a vantage point of view on it just to kind of get some more industrial kind of looking stuff. But first I gotta take this trail, which is, you know, less than desirable. I actually like that. It's a bit windy, so all the trucks that are working are kicking up dust. That should be pretty cool. Once I kind of push in on those, I don't have a super long lens, but hopefully pushing in on the 50 megapixel camera will allow me to see some of that. Well, we've got one more spot left to go, so let's get out of this dump. So here I go again, chasing down another roadside attraction, this time a combine harvester. I'm starting to think that the unplanned photos of this day are my most favorite. Oh! All right, final stop. Okay, so we are now at our last location, the Caledon Brickworks. And this was a complex that was the first to mass produce bricks in Ontario. So a lot of our ugly architecture owes its thanks to these buildings here and the ugly red brick that it made. Still, 100-year-old buildings are quite interesting. I was hoping to be here at the end of the day, not so much now, but we've got a rainstorm coming in. So needless to say, got to take what you get. So let's hopefully we get some interesting shots here. Okay, so this is gonna be my first shot here. I haven't decided if I'm gonna include the tower, the chimney or not, but I just kind of like how sort of square and stark this is against the background. I don't love that tree over there. Maybe I'll crop it out. Kind of digging on these stacks here. I'm gonna check this out. It's kind of neat. All right, so that wasn't as cool and as exciting as I hoped it would be. Maybe at sunset it would actually be a little bit nicer, higher contrast, bigger shadows, things like that. But also, and I wasn't aware of this at the time, that it's trespassing if you go there. A very nice gentleman, and I'm not making that up, he was very nice, from the quarry next door came and said that it was trespassing, but it's for my best interest because there is passageways underground where the kilns were, and they're all collapsing, so they don't want someone to end up dead in the bottom of a hole. And I don't want to end up dead in the bottom of a hole, so don't trespass. I didn't intend to, but I want to end the day on a better note, on something a little bit more interesting. So we're going to take a little drive. It's near here. There's some badlands with some really interesting colored soil. This next little bit I originally recorded talking in the car, but it was kind of noisy, so I decided to re-record it as narration, so you can enjoy this beautiful Ontario landscape while listening to my narration. Another thing I want to talk about is social media. If I didn't work in a visual medium, I probably wouldn't be on social media. But it is the #1 way that we communicate as artists, and it allows everyone to see what you're doing and helps you to create connections that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise. That said, I also know some very successful and very well-paid photographers and filmmakers who have a minuscule following on social media, as most of their work comes from organic relationship building. Where I found social media to be toxic is when it comes to comparing yourself with others. Now it's a vicious circle. On one hand, you need to be posting often, letting people know that you're working and doing interesting things. But no one is going to be doing interesting things all the time. And no one is going to care to see my 1000th lighting setup in a row. During those in-between times when we're not posting, well, we're still scrolling and we're still seeing all the cool things that our peers are doing. And we compare ourselves. And that is where it starts to hurt. In that way, I've continually had thoughts of deleting Instagram and Facebook, so it's out of sight, out of mind. But there's also a lot of inspiration and joy I get from Instagram. So I don't know. But I think it's a good idea to step back from social for a while and just go be an artist without worrying if your life is better or worse than someone else's. Okay, change of plans. So I went to this Badlands thing. Turns out it's $20 to get in. I didn't think it was worth it. Then I turned around. Then my car got stuck. Then somebody helped me get my car unstuck. And then I drove away. And then I found this. So the first thing I did, because I don't want to trespass, is I drove up to the house next to this, and a very lovely lady named Linda was very happy to grant me access to come and shoot this. It's a very, very cool facility. It actually used to be a barn and a silo, and then they turned it into an event space for the equestrian team in the 1970s. This is the Canadian National Equestrian Team in the middle of nowhere. So see, these are the cool things that you can discover when you just start driving. And so I'm gonna walk around. I can't get inside, unfortunately. It's barred off, it hasn't been maintained, so it's not safe to go in there. But I think I can get a couple cool shots around, so let's give her a go. All right, so this concludes our day. Final thoughts, really fun time just going out in the countryside and shooting on my own. Oftentimes when I'm in a car, I see a lot of really cool things on the side of the road that I'd love to stop and shoot, but I'm with somebody, we're on our way somewhere. So for all these reasons, I don't get a chance to do that. So this is that one opportunity that I had to do that, which was super cool. And as well, it was just nice to spend a day not on social media, spend a day just creating without any expectation and not seeing what everybody else is doing. And I think that was just so refreshing, and just to spend a day outside was really awesome. So I'm not saying you do exactly the same thing that I've done. Maybe it's the opposite for you. Maybe this is the kind of stuff that you do, and maybe you should go and get a model and shoot some beauty or fashion stuff or portraits or whatever the case is. But all I'm saying is, it's a good opportunity to be creative, not within the context that you're expected to be creative in. And maybe for you as well, that has nothing to do with imaging. Maybe that is, painting bicycles or whatever it is. But for me, I can say that this was very rewarding as a day. Whether I get any good photos or not, it was just a great day to spend outside. And I feel a bit of rain. I thought I heard a little bit of thunder. So that means I'm done. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and comment in the comment section below, how do you break your creative slumps? I'd love to know. I'm out. Until next time, peace.